My bad, my bad. But yeah, that's my opinion right there with the the bubonic plague that started from Central Asia, and that's the bottomless pit and stuff like that. And there's a book actually I meant to put this on. It's called Ancient Britons. Uh, Ancient what is it called? Ancient Britons. Uh, Ancient Modern Britons. This book right here by this dude named David McRitchie. He actually talks about how the this is like I think he was like some type of anthropologist or something like this. But he was talking about he wrote this book in the 1800s, and he talked about the different ethnic groups of Europe. And he said, why does like someone from like England look different from somebody from Italy, and someone from East Europe look different from somebody from France. He's like they're all European, but they all had this different genetic makeup. And he basically talked about how the ancient modern European was of a person of color, and it's like it changed over time. And it's like he's that book is really in depth about that, how Europe was predominantly so-called black or so-called brown skinned people. So that's why I said this pandemic really changed the face of Europe. At least it started it, So and then verse
I got a
4,
quick.
yeah.
I got a question, bro. What
Yeah.
people or bloodline of people you think the Caucasians came from if they was black? I had a
Uh,
brother that came in. Well, go and answer that, and I'm gonna tell you what one of my clients was telling me about it.
I mean, the Caucasian, like as I said, these people they came to Europe too. There were like different tribes in Europe before the Caucasian actually came to Europe. Which we would consider them, white, quote unquote white. But I mean, the Caucasian himself, like from the Central States. I believe it was a bunch of different varying tribes, the Edomites or Germanic people, Syrian, Canaanite. But I think it was a mixture of both, mixture of people. But yeah, I mean Arab tribes as well. Because when we talk about the Turks came out of the Central Steppe as well, and they basically dominated the Middle East. While there were other people, Caucasian, that came to the Europe, and they became the modern day European. But the Ottoman Turks, I mean, they basically killed the majority of the Arab population, the Iranian population, Indian population, or at least that part like towards Pakistan and North Africa, and that's why it's like those. That's why the people look that way because they basically killed the men and took the women, and that's why they have that type of that complexion. But I mean, they even went to China. Like the Black Death went to China, so it's like even those people they have that mixture as well. So I mean, I think it's a lot. I think I wrote down one time like the Caucasians have like a mixture of like Turks, Mongols, the wild men. That the men that was like it's like a so-called mythological people that had hairy body hair, and they were in Europe. They fought against the Moors. Like there's actually a picture of it. It's actually a documented picture of this, the wild men versus the Moors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all haven't heard about this. Yeah, German tape, it's tapestry. Yeah, it's the wild men. They were depicted with body hair, and they fighting against the Moors. So it's like this a real painting, like in Germany, you know. And it's again, this is the 1400s, like 1300, 1400. This one, the bubonic plague was spreading across Europe, and that's why I said that article said that they say that the Black Death was spread by rats, but it wasn't. I mean, they said it was spread by humans because it came across too fast, like to be spread by rats. And then that because when the Europeans came to America, the native population in America, they started dying because of the diseases that they brought. So it's like, so it couldn't just be rats. It was definitely people that spread this disease.
Was
So
this something?
Yeah.
Was this did you ever hear about the disease? I guess was this the same thing? Like they were saying they were getting it from the potatoes or something. If you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not talking about like potato famine,
Huh?
like a potato
Maybe I'm
famine.
thinking about something different. Yeah, it was like it was something where the potatoes kept getting people sick or something. I don't know if that's had something to do with the rats and I don't know. I think maybe it was something different.
Um, I'm not sure about that one.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. But that's my opinion on it. Well, what you think? What would you say? Who these people are?
Well, he was pretty much saying that they came from the Africans. They came from like literally. They didn't come from Negroes. They came from Negroes or Hebrews. They came from the Hamites or the African nations. That's why they so
Oh,
similar in bestiality and certain things, certain natures that they have some of the same type of characteristics. I don't know if y'all ever heard that before, but it made sense when he told me that. And he come from a whole nother belief system. Matter of fact, he Ephi. So I don't know if y'all know what Ephi is. It's basically a pretty much what what's his name? Dr. Umar is. What he believe in. Kind of like a Pan African
yeah,
type of
Pan
thing.
African.
Huh?
Yeah, like a Pan African.
Yeah. But they also believe in multiple gods too.
Yeah,
God of the water, sea, wind, all the different pretty much what a lot of the celebrities that's into, like Beyonce, she into like she believe that she's Oshun. That's one of the gods of Ephi.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
it
heard about that.
huh?
I heard about that. Yeah, those it's like a West African
Yeah, it's
or
West African belief system.
yeah,
But it just tripped me out that he said that because I know throughout history it's been so many different so much history of them pretty much acting like a wild Caucasian.
mhm,
Whether it's eating people, whether it's into weird bestiality type of stuff with animals, just overall, just they kind of act similar to me,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it
but
could
I
be.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
could be. I don't know.
yeah. Because I mean, the seed of Edom is spread throughout many people too. You know, just like the seed of Israel. That's why it's like
Right,
it is going to be like wheats and tares. Like it's going to be a lot of mingling. It's going to be a separation that's going to come out based off what we believe. So but
right.
I mean, that's what I say. It's not good to necessarily argue about the genealogy and stuff because we don't know. But it's going to be manifested because people um, that's going to be like adhering to the truth, they're going to stand out, and the people that's going to be adherent to the lie, they're going to separate themselves. So I think that's how we're going to know who is who in the last days. You know?
Yeah, that's basically how I
So
looked at it because I know he mixed his seed amongst many nations.
yeah, yeah. And then, so yeah, going into verse 4, and it says like it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Now it's like now this got to be a metaphor for the grass and the green thing and the tree. That got to be a metaphor for people because the next sentence, I mean, the next part of the sentence is these men who didn't have the seal of God in their forehead. So there's got to be men that aren't considered the green of the earth. So it's like when you have the law, statutes, commandments in your heart, you have a new spirit in you. You are a living creature. Just like Psalm 1 says, you're going to be like a tree. So it's like that's why it's like our ancestors were able to survive because it's pretty much prophesied that they had to make it through these tribulations in order to bring forth the descendants that are able going to be collected at the harvest. So it's like I think that's why our people was able to make it through these very difficult hardships, whether these plagues and these ships coming from what Europe, Africa, Asia and all this stuff. Like it's just like we came from a long way to really be here. So I think that's why it'll stay right there. In verse 5, it says, to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Now, I wanted to talk about this 5 months. I remember I wrote this down in my Bible, this 5 months, because I was really into eschatology and end times prophecy, and I was trying to figure out what this meant. And I couldn't figure it out for the longest. And I was listening to the Rock of Bar. I remember he was talking about jubilees and stuff. And I remember I put in like a jubilee is 50 years, and I actually I just was playing with it. And I said, "What's 5 times a jubilee?" And a jubilee, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, jubilee here is 200. Is 5 jubilees a jubilee is 50 years, so 5 jubilees is 250 years. That's why it's like it's pretty funny how they celebrating July 4th as the 250th anniversary of America. And I was like, just the scripture talk about how this these locusts they're gonna torment torment the people for 5 months and sting them like a scorpion. And so I was like, I'm not saying I know the time and the dates or something like that, but I do believe America is going through a transition that basically they're going to lose their influence on the world. So I think that it's going to be a big transition going into the next several years where it's going to be different. America's not going to be that superpower that it once was. And it said, verse 7, the shapes of the locusts were onto horses prepared onto battle, and their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as if it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, and of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there was sting in their tails, and their power was to hurt men for 5 months. So that's why I say I think this was, something in long to the superpower that was happening amongst these, eventually the people who were able to take over the land and form this super country. And that's why I say I think that 5 months is 250 years. I believe so, but I don't know. I'm just speculating. But this came out this year. Pope Leo, he's the Pope, the new Pope of the Catholic Church. He actually announced that 2026 was going to be a jubilee year for this Franciscan. I think Francis. He basically is pronouncing this year as a jubilee for him. This old. I think he's a archbishop from the Middle Ages. So I just thought that was interesting that he did that this year because I was like, that's what I thought. This year was a jubilee. But it said verse 11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And so y'all know Abaddon and Apollyon. Abaddon is destruction, place of destruction. Apollyon is destroyer, the angel of the bottomless pit. And I thought this was interesting too. The word death is in Greek is called Thanatos. Y'all remember Marvel had the movie
Thanos.
Endgame or whatever it's called. And Thanos, he killed half the population, with that. I don't know if y'all were into the comics, but like in the comics, it was even more crazy because Thanos, he was in love with death. Death was a woman, and he had actually tried to appease death by killing 50% of the universe. So it's like it was even like a weirder reason, but he was like in love with death, and he wanted to make like a sacrifice to death. So but yeah, it's just interesting that the word death means Thanatos. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they knew that. That's what they gave Thanos that character that name. Just because it's like
yeah, they know that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I ain't never know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I found out today. I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They've really been putting stuff in our face like that, man.
Them people know, bro. Everything they be putting on these screens, it be calculated. We
Oh
just
yeah.
a lot of us just don't know what's going on or don't know these things, so it just go, they just put it right in our face.
I believe that. And then this verse 13. Yeah, I was gonna break it up too, but this is kind of short. I just wanted to mention the Euphrates thing. So it's in the sixth trumpet, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, and saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, 200,000. That's what, 200 million. I think 200,000 times 1,000 is 200 million, or 2 million, something like that. It's like 200 million. I think it's 200 million. But yeah, man, that's the Euphrates River, and y'all know, I'm sure y'all seen this on social media. The Euphrates River is experiencing historically low water levels and could become a seasonal dry in Iraq by 2040 due to climate change, upstream damming, and unsustainable water use. So, they're just saying that how the Euphrates River just getting so much, it's going to be basically you know, it's going to be gone. We're approaching it pretty quickly, and people have been exploring that. They actually found caves in the bottom of that river, and it was like that's what makes it even more creepy. Like they're like, yo, like is there really something going on in this river? But it's crazy because the Bible prophesied this years, thousands of years ago that this was happening. So it's like people freaking out. But that's why it's like the Bible really is ahead of its time. You know. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
think
true.
yeah, and in verse 17, thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having the breastplates of fire, and a jackton, just think, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issues fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by brimstone which issued out of their mouths, for their power is in their mouth, and their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And I think this is very, kind of reminiscent of when the bottomless pit, the people from the bottomless pit came out and they basically destroyed a lot of people. It's very similar. So I think there's going to probably be another pandemic that's going to be a real pandemic where it's like something's going to spread across, the West and the East, and it's going to, destroy a lot of people, you know. And it said, verse 20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor to walk, and neither repented they of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor their thefts. Now, y'all know what sorceries, y'all already know, but like sorceries, that word in the Greek is called pharmakia, which that's where we get the word medication or pharmacy from. So by extension, magic, because sorcery, witchcraft, how the pharmaceutical industry basically runs the medical industry. Y'all remember in pandemic and stuff like that, and the the jabs and stuff like that. But that's why I say you know I think that that truth of what came out with those vaccinations is going to come out, but they're not going to be repentant of it. They're going to basically double down on it. Like it's like almost like it was meant to help us, but we don't know what the side effects of those medications going to do. In years to come, and and then also the thefts. Like I was watching Trump. He gave the speech about Fourth of July last night at Mount Rushmore, and he basically said like at the end of the speech, he was like, we're gonna be proud of our country, and some people have been saying that we have stolen land, and we our ancestors or our pioneers of America were like did atrocities in America, but he said these are our heroes, and basically he was defending it. Like he's like, we did not steal land, we did not do any atrocities, and it's just like I think people basically gonna double down on that too. They gonna basically not be repentant of the things that America has done. I mean, America, the European colonization is that's the major like sex crimes and war crimes in history. Like they done so much evil but people going to deny it. Like they almost like they're going to be unrepentant, but they're not going to see it like that. They're going to disguise it as if they're like Christian nationalists, or they're going to be proud of. They're going to disguise it with patriotism. Like it's like, oh no, we're not going to be ashamed of who we are. We're not going to be ashamed to be American, or we're not going to be ashamed to be white or whatever. Like they're going to frame it in a way to make it seem like they just, they proud of their heritage, but they really just going to be unrepentant for the sins that that they people did. Because if they were really repentant, I mean, just being honest, you can be proud of your ancestry, but you got to be honest about it. Like, same with Israel. I mean, we, proud of who we are, but at the same time, we done some wicked stuff that that's why I say the Most High is giving us mercy. But it's like they gonna double down. They gonna just believe that they in the promised land right now. So it's like they gonna basically put themselves on judgment because they are repentant. But you know, but that's why I say I just thought this was interesting, man. I really think that we getting closer to that time. I think just it's just becoming so much clearer. Since 2020, it's just really opened my eyes, and I just think that it's just good that we just stay aware of what's going to happen in the next several years, because I really believe that we're going to see a big transition. Towards the end, I think towards the end of Trump's presidency, I think it's been some stuff probably is going to happen, but just we got to stay, just prepared up, and keep our faith. Don't let things get us down. And, just try to take care of ourselves and our families. Yeah, I just wrote that.